I think like let's just do a little recap on that. Our first episode was on about 2016 and what a rotten year it was. All these celebrities dying, and then we had really iconic people like Prince and David Bowie, and then we had two of the most unpopular people in the country running against each other to be our leaders. So it was almost like it was an insult to injury a little bit. And I voted a third party, and I'm not sure whether I stand by that now. I say I regret it, but I always regret every vote I make because I always think that there's some bullshit consequence to all of them.
I stayed home in 2016 for the record.
You just stayed home in 2016?
Yeah, I stayed home.
So this love affair with Donald Trump has been growing since then.
It's only been about a year, 2 years since I started supporting Trump.
Okay. So in the last 2 years.
I stayed home in 2018 too. This will be the first election I'm voting for since 2008, voting in since 2008.
Did you think about voting third party?
I would consider voting third party. There has not been a third party candidate that I've been eligible to vote for that I found worth voting for.
What did you do in 2016, Anthony?
Well, I voted for Hillary, and I didn't like her, and I'm going to tell you that I'm kind of ashamed of that now. I don't think that I gave her. I think I judged her much more harshly than I would have a male candidate. I would have liked someone. Not that I wouldn't have preferred someone else, but I judged her pretty harshly. And I think a lot of people did because she was a woman, because of her husband, a whole bunch of things. I think that if a lot of men especially looked, that they were being a little misogynistic.
Trump had never held office before, and so no one knew what to expect from him. So there were people out there thinking he's a deal maker. He'll be making deals left and right with whoever he can, Democrat, Republican, whoever, or thinking it could be the most chaotic thing ever. But there was nothing to go on. There was no experience to go on. And Hillary Clinton had a very long record to look at. So comparing hypotheticals against a solid record was a big question mark. So if someone was torn between the two, you could see how they could make the decision. But then now, compared to now, it's
and I think Anthony is right in this sense that, like, on top of her having a very long record, and the thing that really turned the tide for me was that she wasn't making allowances for her being a bad candidate, because she was. And I think she made a lot of bad moves. She was very underhanded in the primary. And she was very underhanded in the primary against Barack Obama, the 3 a.m. call. If she had made allowances for that and she had said, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm better than Trump, like the Biden strategy is today, I probably would have voted for her. But she had this, I will agree with Anthony that she had this very long 30-year career that basically where people made their entire careers off of trashing her and her husband. And so she was hated in a very manufactured way, no doubt about it. Right. I had the opposite problem with Hillary in that I liked her personally. I think if I were going to have I know that Donald Trump doesn't drink, but if I was going to have a drink between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, I can't think of a person that I'd rather, that I'd least want to drink with versus someone I'd most want to. Like, she knows all the Jeffrey Epstein shit. She knows, she's sometimes, people say she's personally very thorough and hilarious and, has been, first lady and, secretary of state and, knows where all the bodies are buried and has this weird, witches laugh. I think she's great personally. I just thought she was a bad campaigner and she had bad policy. When it was her and John Edwards and Barack Obama against each other in the primary, I was praying every day for fucking Barack Obama because both he won. But both her and Edwards were off, like the worst possible like excesses of the Democratic Party at that time, and even more so in 2016. And I didn't believe a word she said. I think if she had won today, we might very well have a proxy war in Syria against Russia. So that was my calculus at the time. And even though I still hate Donald Trump to this day, and I hated him at the time too, I thought at the time all of this anti-war rhetoric he might be called to term for it, and it might affect something in a way that like we get out of Syria and like Hillary Clinton's going to get us in a bigger war in Syria. And all right. I don't know that necessarily would have happened in retrospect, but like I could see a worst case scenario with Hillary, and I could see a worst case scenario with Trump, and the Trump one has happened. But
yeah, I couldn't see anything with Trump, and we are making the same mistake. Still, some of the things you said, you're judging her because she's a woman. Like, says, well, if she had made these mistakes, if she were a man, you'd let that go. You're saying her long political career. It wasn't her long political career. It was her husband's long political career.
Yeah, career. Male equivalent.
He served 1 Senate term and 4 years as Secretary of State. That's not that big of a political career. So she,
she was a senator for a long time too.
Now, 6 years. Did she do 1 term? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, but during that time, she introduced flag burning legislation. She like voted for the Iraq War. She voted for Homeland Security. She was not only people call her a neoliberal. She was a neocon.
She was active. So what can you say in politics? So you got to throw it back to us, Jack. You're preaching, and we've got 2 more panelists. All right. Okay. No, not just me. I'm just saying Andrew and Mike, I'm sure they have something to say.
Mike, I imagine you're a Gary Johnson voter in 2016. What was your assessment?
I did have a drink with the candidate I voted for. Yeah. Voted for Gary Johnson, of course. I did used to live in New Mexico shortly too. You can say how long of an actual political career Hillary Clinton had, but her career as being in the spotlight and making political opinions has been very, very long, even if she wasn't in any kind of elected or appointed office. And I felt the same way you did. And in 2016, I was happier that Hillary lost than I would have been if Trump lost, and I would be happy for either of them to lose. I'm feeling the opposite way this time around, which is I'll be happier for Trump to lose, even though I think Joe Biden is one of the most disgusting people ever as well. And I think he has a long track record that's probably worse than Hillary's. I just, like we all just said, we didn't know about Trump. And I don't think we have played out any kind of worst case scenario with Trump. There isn't a wall. I knew in 2016 there's never going to be a wall. There isn't one now. He hasn't done half the shit he talks about. If anybody should be mad at him, it's actually Republicans. If a Democrat did a lot of what Donald Trump has done, they'd be rip shit, but it's their guy, so they don't care.
Pitts, I think that leads us to the next topic pretty good. And I'm sorry, Mike, I caught you off there.
I just did want to hear from it in case Andrew had anything to say about how we got here. But I guess considering it was a while before since you voted, Andrew, I guess, what were you expecting in 2016? What were you expecting? Were you hoping for anything, or were you kind of just tuning it out?
I was of the mindset that Donald Trump, even though I didn't like him then, was the lesser evil, because I'd rather what I perceive Donald Trump's ineptitude over Hillary Clinton's ability to get stuff done that I didn't want to get done. I'd rather have an inept Donald Trump than a successful Hillary having the ability to do what I think she would have done.